Hey guys, Abhinav here. Like, share, subscribe, press the bell icon, and while you see the videos, also check out the description. We have all the links to everything we have said. Well, almost everything, hopefully, in the description below. Happy watching. So, welcome everybody to the second episode of Whose Fact Is This? You know the format because we are sure you would have seen the first episode. And today's guests or hosts, whatever it may be, are Ria Chopra. Say hi, Ria.
Hello.
Hetvi Jethwani, who everybody knows, I'm sure.
Hi.
World famous Hetvi. And
Thank you.
Piyush Kedia. His hands are going into the Van Gogh painting, which is why I don't like backgrounds.
My ears are as well.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, I'll begin then. Okay, so the first fact of the day would be from Piyush.
Yeah. So my fact of the day is very morbid. It's about a genocide, really. So in the Rwandan genocide, if you know about it, then it's a very interesting story how it actually started. So it was not a direct call to action, but it was hidden in a very nice metaphor. So what happened was basically during the Rwandan genocide, people were already angry. So it was a battle between two different tribes, the Hutus and the Tutsis. So they are different ethnicities of Rwanda. So what happened was that the radio channels that they have in their country, they basically streamed orders which asked for cutting the tall trees. And very interestingly, people understood this because the Tutsis are normally taller than the Hutus, and that is how the genocide actually started, and then it went on. Yeah. So, hidden messages in media.
Quite a metaphor there.
So, just to add up on what Piyush was talking about. So while reading about this and in general reading about Rwanda, I got very fascinated with the role of radios in propaganda. So apparently one of the radios which was, instrumental in encouraging, in spreading propaganda before 1994. So it claimed to be a private entity, but the major stakeholder was the then president of Rwanda. And that's not all, it also drew power from the presidential mansion. So it was literally being powered by the president to spread propaganda against the Tulus. So that just like the lens people would go to cleanse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The funny thing is that not funny actually, but the genocide actually started because there was this president of Rwanda who was killed in an air crash, and then everyone found a way to blame the Tutsis for that. So yeah.
That is why
when I was reading about what kind of propaganda was being spread by this radio channel in particular, you have transcripts of these broadcasts available online. So you see that they're actually referring to the Tutsis as like tall trees, of course. And they also use a lot of dehumanizing imagery like cockroaches, vermin. It really draws a parallel to the way Jews were portrayed as mice or like rats during the Holocaust, and then it's just okay, exterminate the vermin and kill them. And it's a pattern you see a lot in propaganda and the way it's spread. And yeah, it was sad, a very morbid fact to read up on, very honestly.
Yeah, mouse basically.
Mouse. Yes.
Yeah. Mouse is pretty much based on the same ideology or whatever idea.
Exactly.
So while we are at mouse, so there are these two Indian artists. They were inspired by mouse to create this tale of partition. It's called Chhotu, I think. I'm forgetting the exact name, but we will be nudging you to check the description out for this too. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Do during the genocide, obviously the life expectancy was very low. But after that, they have kind of built their nation since '94. And there's this, the president of Rwanda right now is Paul Kagame, who has been the president since 2000. He was a military general initially. And after that, when he became the president, and in the recent most election, I think 2014, because they have a 7-year tenure and all of that. So he got about 98% of the votes. So all of that had happened. Yeah. And
Perfectly fair.
yeah, but in a way, he is also a bit authoritarian, as in many people. So as is the want with probably in Africa, you have so many dictators. So why should Rwanda be left behind? You know. So apparently they are trying to convert Rwanda into like a Singapore for Africa. So generally, if you see Singapore, right, it's quite central in Asia and Australia, basically Asia-Australia region. So you have a lot of these places you can travel to in an 8-hour flight. A lot of these business areas. Similarly, Rwanda is very central to Africa. So even though it's a very small country, but it's becoming a very good economic powerhouse, and it's about one of the fastest economies in the world. As in, it's trying that very well. And even the ease of doing business, it is the best in all of Africa. 29th in all of Africa, and after that, Morocco you have at 60.
Rwanda is also like, so this is, so I saw this on YouTube or something once, but since you mentioned the government, I think Rwanda is one of the parliaments with the most female representation.
64% of, as in 2 houses again. I'm not sure of the house names, but again, 64% overall is women, which is the highest percentage anywhere in the world.
I think a lot of people attribute this to the fact that the genocide took place, which is so morbid, right? They were like, women had to join the workforce because so many men were being killed, and as a result, we have like, wow.
But the population today is 50-50 only, as in if that's a measure.
Yeah, but if you time set it, I think then their arguments make sense. I'm not sure. The YouTube video might have been propaganda too, of course.
Yeah. But talking about propaganda, I really enjoyed reading about the patterns of dehumanization. Enjoyed as in from an observational perspective.
Everybody is putting dark jokes. Piyush is like, it's funny that, oh no, it's not funny, sorry.
So I was just reading about the kind of patterns that you see in propaganda happening and how you're able to motivate large sections of society into doing certain acts. And what this is called, specifically in the case of Rwanda, and we can see in our contemporary political atmosphere as well, you otherize a bunch of people by using metaphors, like they're anti-national, they're cockroaches, they're a certain group. And then you call your group into getting into action against them, but you don't want to be persecuted for hate speech. So you use metaphors like tall trees or like goli maro saloko, but you don't exactly say who or stuff like that. This is actually given a term. It's called dog whistling, because just like a dog whistle, only the dog understands it, and like they're able to hear that frequency and then they know what to do. So a call for action that's coded like this, only the in-group knows what to do, and you say they're cutting trees and you will just be like, oh, we're talking about gardening, but you're actually...
And the best thing is that it can always be appropriated by different people into your own purpose.
Yeah. Oh, do you guys want to know something that's not so sad and is vaguely tangentially related to what we were talking about?
Yes.
So, it's radio is basically a voice, like that's it. And you have, why it worked for Rwanda particularly is because you have a large section of illiterate populace who's angry. So listening to the radio is the one thing that gets them going, and they're able to fall prey to whatever propaganda you put in the audio. So I was just like, we consider ourselves rational people. Like someone tells me to kill someone, I'm probably not going to do it just because they said so. So I searched a bit about what repeated stimuli of sound does to someone, and I found this pretty cool fact. So if you keep repeating words that relate to old people at someone, like if I keep saying knitting, bingo, wheelchair, walking stick to you, the next walk you take, you will walk slower than average. Which is like, I mean, I was like, it's a research and it works. So like we consider ourselves so impervious to like words, but we are not.
I mean, this also reminds me of
I
something
think this is
slightly, moderately similar. As in, if you have, as in, you would see a lot of ads on TV. First, you kind of are like, "Ha, dekhte hain," first couple of times. Then you're like, grow tired of it. But then it happens after the 15th or 20th time you see the same ad, you're like, you kind of buy that, and that's like a business, like a consumer report that comes in, as in consumer research that comes in, that you have people thinking that they want to buy this product because it has been so ingrained in their mind that they think that this is a good product and all of that. And this happens after repeated viewing, which is why you see a lot of Instagram ads, Facebook ads, same ads which are directed towards you. Adidas का ad आएगा, मेरे पे आता है जैसे Adidas के ad आते रहते हैं, 60% डिस्काउंट, 50% डिस्काउंट, 40% डिस्काउंट. तो चाहिए नहीं मुझे, लेकिन मैं खरीद लूंगा कभी ना कभी, ऐसा देती. बट मैं तो नहीं खरीद रहा, पैसे ही नहीं मेरे पास, पैसे तो होने चाहिए.
Every single tweet that goes viral, I see the sunset lamp under it. And I'm like, sunset lamp, I don't really need it. Like, sun is outside my window. Then I see, space lights. I'm like, okay, space is already outside. I don't need it. Now I'm really getting tempted. I think this is working on me only. Like, all those viral tweets, same ad. And people like me with zero brain cells, we just buy that stuff.
This is actually what most Instagram or Twitter accounts, that become corporate accounts actually do that. So what they do is they share viral videos and funny stuff, cat videos that a lot of people will share. And that's how they build up a following. And then they sell it to someone who can then very nicely brand it again. So ready-made audience for everyone.
Nice.
This reminds me of NFTs. I'm sorry to be the one breaking it up.
Oh no, here we go again.
Okay, fine. We can talk about it later.
But
this reminds me of another concept which I am studying as part of a course right now. And I'm just going to force it here. So it reminds me of something that Freud said about repetition. So his theory, like his hypothesis, I should say, is that, humans are compelled to repeat things by some unknown force. He talks about these unknown forces in a lot of his papers, which were like later lost or burned by him. So humans are compelled to do certain things, which basically take us closer to the death drive, or basically take us closer to death. Like, I'm actually quoting him on this, but he says that the aim of life is dying in one of his books. So, and what really threw me off was the fact that he compared the behavior of a child. So to this so he compared the tendency of a child to repeat stuff to this sort of repetition that also compels us. Like, if we are frustrated, why we get frustrated again and again at something. So he compared this to games like Peekaboo, and so he specifically has this game where like the parent goes away and the child is sad, and then the parent comes back and the child is happy. But like there is this repetition of the child, consciously inflicting the trauma of the parent going away. So yes, I am sorry for the digression.
This is what happens to us in online quizzes, I guess. Har baar bura lagta hai, but we come back again.
Okay, so coming back to Rwanda.
Oh yeah.
We were in the African continent. So they also built, to do all this business, right? So they're trying to be the business hub of Africa. So to do all of this, they built the most expensive building in the African continent. Now the most expensive building. As in pyramid ko obviously chhod do, because you can't measure
They're
that.
priceless. It's fine.
So they have built a Kigali Convention Center. So they have had African Union meetings, World Economic Forum in 2016 and all of that. So this is the place where, as in, uske paas ek Radisson Blue type bana diya hai. Then they are like like Singapore has done. They're trying to replicate a lot of what Singapore is trying to do. So like Singapore Air is very good. Like Emirates, Etihad, yeah, Qatar Air is very good. So they are also trying for an airline which is called Rwanda, one word.
Nice.
So
very original.
Yeah, I mean that is
I
something.
guess they have a Rwanda vision.
Oh God,
कब
someone
से
had
लेके बैठा
to.
हुआ है 15 साल से बैठा हुआ है कि कब बोलूंगा मैं. So they are also trying for that, but obviously not at that scale. And yeah, Rwanda also aiming to be the world's first plastic-free country and all of that. So different things. And in cake, so just for the plastic-free thing, so they're trying to have this, as in they have every last Saturday of every month, that is, have a community cleaning service of the close by parks, waters, rivers, whatever nature related. It's called Umaganda, very close to propaganda probably, which means working together. So they have this kind of a system that they are having. And we were also talking about the healthcare in Rwanda. So Rwanda's life expectancy is one of the top 5 in all of Africa. And there is a company called Zipline. So this is very, very ingenious in Rwanda, as in I've not seen it anywhere else in my research. So they use drones to deliver blood to different parts of Rwanda, right? So it's not a very big country, obviously. So they have a central in the country, they have a central location, and they have these blood samples and the blood banks and all of that coming in. And whenever somebody needs it in an emergency, or even as in if you're not getting it somewhere else, they have these this location close to the airport, and they just launch these drones with the blood, which goes into a predetermined path. It drops it with a parachute, the blood sample, blood packet, and then it comes back to the same location and all that. So it's a very fun thing. Yeah, if we'll obviously share the link in the video in the description. You can go and take a look at all that.
So, like in the end of April 2020, I took part in this thing. It was like a hackathon for helping Africa out in COVID. So people had a lot of interesting solutions, and this reminded me of one of the solutions. So one of the solutions was, so how can we exploit existing supply chains to create awareness about COVID? So they provided a lot of interesting packaging and marketing ideas for companies like Coca-Cola and Pepsi, who already have their supply chain pretty nicely. Like they have, like they can reach pretty deep parts of Africa. So they, proposed that they change their packaging and slightly tweak their design to help people out with. So like in general, mask etiquettes about like sanitization etiquettes and stuff. There was a lot of things. Like I think there were a lot of interesting solutions related to COVID in Africa also. I just hate that mostly in okay, this is like a personal opinion, but I hate that mostly we only talk about Africa in the context of slavery and not anything else. And I mean, it's kind of, I'm glad that we're talking about Africa in context other than slavery. So yeah.
So actually your solution, right? It reminded me of something that came in a quiz, I think, in a couple of quizzes. So in Africa, you have this anti-diarrhea kit, and the packaging is in a way that it fits into the Coca-Cola cartons, right? And you, as in, if you can kind of visualize the bottles, right? So this kind of fits on top of that, because you have Coca-Cola pretty much going to all parts of the world. So this is something that they said ki we don't need different supply chain for all of this, and we can just use Coca-Cola. And of course, diarrhea is something that Africa is kind of obviously always जूझ रहा है उसके साथ. There's a better word नहीं है, जूझना. Okay, so talking about Africa, obviously we don't want to talk about the slavery, as Hetvi pointed out. So Malabo, which is the capital of Equatorial Guinea, is the only capital in the world which has no daily newspaper, no newspaper stands at all, and not even a single bookstore. The only book available for purchase is displayed in the supermarket. It's called the Practical Handbook of Ceremony, which is basically a behavioral guide for dictators. As in Africa, if you have, then you would have dictators, and those who aspire to be like them. And of course, the other fact about Equatorial Guinea or Malabo that I know is it's one of the only 4 countries whose capital is not in the mainland, as in it's on a island differently. So yeah, talking about African dictators, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows a lot of them. But there was somebody, the first president of Zimbabwe was Kenan Banana. Kanan Banana. So he became the president in 1980. And in 2 years, in 82, they had to pass a law that there should be no jokes about his name. So there was there was an actual law that there should be no jokes about his name. So it became.
I really, not related to Africa, but I really like it when dictatorial or bad rulers of countries get really angsty about particular things that really bug them. So there's this one really famous graphic online, I'm sure we've all seen it. It's Vladimir Putin with lipstick on a rainbow flag. Have you guys seen it? It's very viral on 9gag and all. Reddit pe dikh jata hai. So that picture, if you're a Russian who posts it or shares it or stuff, so it's actually punishable by like a jail sentence and fine. So it's his insecurity, like that one picture. He can do whatever.
Yeah.
He's like the macho man, but that one picture really bugs him so bad.
Piyush is about to say Winnie the Pooh, I think.
Oh yeah.
No, I was saying that Russia also has a ban on homosexuality, which is also why I guess it faces a lot of flack. So like in the football World Cup, there were 7 different fans who actually like wore different shirts and. Yeah.
So even in I think Sochi, I think it was no, not Sochi, maybe somewhere in Russia, they had taken down a statue of Steve Jobs because Tim Cook came out as gay. So this was 2015 or something. Just because Tim Cook came out as gay, Steve Jobs ki statue hata diya. So it's that bad there.
Did you sit for the same quiz? I saw this in the prelims or some quiz.
Yeah, I think I also.
We buzzed and got this wrong in a Crucible West Zone, East Zone, because our buzzer was misfiring.
Anyway, talking about homophobia and linking it way back to our first discussion about how propaganda affects our brains. So as someone who doesn't understand science, I really like reading abstracts of scientific papers and then just figuring out what the entire paper is about, based on that abstract. So I just came across one and I didn't bother reading the entire paper, but maybe we can link it somewhere. So if you hear someone like loudly abusing a gay person, an LGBTQ person, or using like homophobic slurs against them, you're likelier to, in a controlled experimental environment, maintain a physical distance from that queer person. Basically, if you see one person abusing another on the basis of their identity, you get an unconscious bias of that identity on yourself. Like, this is not a generalized, very large sample size scientific research, but in smaller sample sizes, it's been proven that you internalize other people's biases, basically.
Interesting.
Which is what Abhinav was saying with the ads as well, right? Anything if you keep repeating.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, and in China also the depiction of Winnie the Pooh was kind of subsided in a way by the government because obviously Xi Jinping looked like and then Xi Jinping and Obama walking together looked like Winnie the Pooh and Tigger. So that was obviously a very famous quiz question. As in, our life shouldn't be made out of quiz questions, but that is how it is.
So he's the person who started a quiz podcast.
Quiz question? No, this is not a quiz podcast. This is a podcast.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so yeah, the other fact about African dictator I had was, so obviously Zaire is now Republic of Congo, right? Or Democratic, one of the Congos. So Zaire's president Mobutu, sorry. So he built a personal Xanadu of sorts, as in his own palace, sort of, as in big bungalow and all that.
Does
he-
Xanadu start with an X?
Yeah, X.
Isn't that your Twitter username? Oh no, it's not.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, that's
my bad.
Xanadu.
Canedro.
Yeah.
Nitro. I
Hmm.
That's very
Okay.
different.
Hmm.
Random. Yeah. So he built actually an airstrip in which, as in, they had a Concorde landing in that village of only 1,500 population. So he built this Concorde just to have a birthday party, pretty much. As in, sorry, this airstrip only to have a birthday party, pretty much. And as in, a lot of famous people came in, and just as in, his birthday cake came from France through the Concorde and all of that. So that is the kind of excesses these countries do, even if their people are like, they have no money and all that. So that is okay. So
Hey,
moving
can I make a Rwanda joke before we finish? So you said that Rwanda is trying to idolize Singapore, right? So what happens when Rwanda tries to idolize Australia? Like, what would you call this phenomenon?
repeat.
Akanda.
So currently Rwanda is trying to idolize Singapore, right? So what would you say when Rwanda, or let's say the instrumental characters in which play a role in Rwanda's development are trying to make it similar to Australia? What would you like? What tongue-in-cheek name can you call this phenomenon?
Down under.
Something from pop culture. Fairly.
Is Rwanda down under?
That's nice. But no.
मैंने बोला
So what I
शहर
had
दिया
in
मैं
mind
चिम्प
was
किया धर पे हाँ
what I had in mind was this would be the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
फेंको इसको बाहर.
At least someone laughed.
cancelled
Can move on.
cancelled
I was thinking about Dhar's point. So he was saying that now Rwanda is talking about a community cleaning drive. Essentially, the genocide was also that.
Oh my god.